Discover trends and global developments years before they happen, right here on The Alex Jones Show.
And I'm the big bad monster. I'm the big bad wolf. I'm the bad guy. So said the MSM that lies continually, so I'm pretty honored. You know, I say I'm synced with Trump. This is common sense. This morning I meant to open the show offering to campaign for Nancy Pelosi to stay in the speakership of the House of Representatives, or she was previously that. Now she's the Democratic leader. I was going to campaign for her to remain the Democratic leader because obviously she's such a doddering, corrupt, out-of-touch, Looney Tunes piece of work. Democratic fundraising's at an all-time low. They've thrown every bit of money they had in the last 4 special elections and failed. And sure enough, POTUS made the same point. It would be very, very sad day for Republicans if Nancy Pelosi steps down, says Trump. That's up on drudgereport.com. I want to post this on Infowars.com. Trump meets with top CEOs. So we're going to get that video and play that for you. Oh, my gosh. That is so delicious. So that's just some of the news that's up on Drudge. Some of the other news, Johnny Depp jokes about Trump assassination backlash. Yeah, I hope nobody kills him. I mean, you know, he is calling for a civil war and murder, or pushing it, part of the trend. 11th Hollywood star to imagine violence. Yeah, that's a good article. I'm going to go over that. MSNBC, president like suicide bomber. 30 Republican congressman attacked, threatened. I'm going to go over all those. Update, Democratic official caught saying, I'm glad Scalise got shot. I mean, that's what's going on. That's the trend for civil war. Then we've got Pelosi. We've got President Trump saying, keep her. But see, I almost didn't want to come celebrate this because the Democrats might get wise and get rid of her. But see, there's such a dictatorship of Schumer in the Senate and Pelosi in the House. And then David Brock's like the brain that like runs their, you know, their operations and stuff. And you know, the skeletons all, you know, meet there. And then come up with their battle plan. And I just hope they just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And I know they got some big plans. I know Deep State's got some plans. I understand that. But Soros, they say, is kind of drifting off into oblivion right now. And then Alex is the great new titan we have to deal with, Alex Soros, who, well, let's just say he doesn't have as powerful a demon in him as his father. Like he has like a Slimer demon or something. He's got like some kind of little goblin creature spirit. I mean, we're talking about rat level creatures here. But what does it say about us if rat crazed, spirit cooking, Aleister Crowley loving little dweebies who've drank their own wimp Kool-Aid, they want to pull down the whole universe because they're such wimps. They're so ugly. They're so twisted. They want to pull everybody else down so they can feel powerful above it. It's not going to work that way. We've had so much prosperity, dumbos, that people kind of tolerated you. So they didn't want to look at you. But now you will face the full fury. And I've been waiting for this a long time. Now, we're going to go to break soon and come back with Max Keiser from Mexico City. And then I've got a powerful Joe Rogan clip I meant to get to yesterday that I've got to play about Evergreen College and the mental illness by design. And then I've got a powerful, when I say powerful, I'm not overusing the word, very important, poignant, thought-provoking piece by George Carlin that I'd never heard, with him on politics, political correctness, and more. We're going to air both those this hour after Max Keiser leaves us. If the water doesn't rise over Bear Creek, or if the hair doesn't lip the Admiral. They say, oh, don't use those old-fashioned British terms. It'll hurt somebody with a hair lip. It's not meant to hurt somebody with a hair lip. It's an old saying. And we've got to start using the old sayings, or they're going to have a monopoly on words and tell us what words to use. It's total tyranny. It's control of language. It's out of control by design. And then Michael Malice, an expert on North Korea, the unauthorized biography on Dear Leader. That's the name of the book. Will be joining us on the nightmare, the heaven of the utopic communist country of North Korea. We'll also look at the implosion of other wonderlands like Cuba and Venezuela. MSNBC's Alyssa Jordan, who was married to Michael Hastings, she was formerly a top aide on the National Security Council for Obama. She is saying that Trump is like a suicide bomber. We have another MSNBC host saying ISIS should target Trump properties like Trump Tower, but he's violent. He's like a suicide bomber. That's coming up in a moment. Then Max Keiser joins us from Mexico City with breaking news on the economy, politics, and more. Always interesting and informative when Max Keiser joins us. But first, here's Johnny Depp, a guy from Kentucky, trying to have a kind of quasi-Atlantic accent, British accent, talking about getting Trump in the dark, stomping on him with Doc Martens. I mean, there's a longer clip. We played it last hour. And then saying, has an actor killed a president? So it's all part of this pushing the narrative, and you got Democrats getting caught saying they hope Scalise dies. And you've got when Trump says, you know, let's have prayers for him and his family and for the police officers, and then the Democrats boo and hiss. I mean, these are truly sickening people who are incredibly wimpy, is the other part. Most of them don't have jobs. Most of them are mentally ill. I mean, you go to a Democratic Party event, it looks like Day of the Dead. Especially the young people. It's very, very sad. What has happened? Well, look at Johnny Depp. He looks like a cross between a meth head and a lot lizard, you know, that you mix in with a child molester creeping around in a white van. I'm not saying he's a child molester, but Johnny Depp looks like a child molester. And he's all shaken from all the drugs he's taken and can hardly talk. What's going to happen if somebody walks up to him because they don't like him pushing civil war and pumps a bunch of bullets into him? Or God forbid, don't blame the Second Amendment. They walk up and pull out a double-edged dagger and just grab him by the back of the head and start running it into him. I hope that doesn't happen because they're all hoping for violence and stuff. I'm scared of violence. I don't want anything to do with it. Now, let's go ahead and, because we're winning the info war so good, why would we have that? But don't worry, there'll be time enough for whatever they want. I'm sure they're going to get what they want. Here's Johnny Creeper Van Depp.
I think he needs help. And, I don't know, a lot of wonderful dark places he could go. A lot of Doc Martens in the... It's just a question. I'm not insinuating anything. By the way, this is going to be in the press. It'll be horrible. But I like that you're all a part of it. When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
God, he thinks he's so cool. Just some drug addict.
Now, I want to clarify. I'm not an actor. I lie for a living.
No, what you are is a rotten-toothed little snake.
It's been a while.
I just look at him trying to act cool. They all try to dress like gypsies, and it's just giving me a break. Get a job, man. $600 million that you didn't give to charity, that you blew and lost because you're such a moron, and you've got all these fake supposed friends around you. Imagine just waddling around acting cool like Johnny Depp does all day. When if he didn't have the money and if he wasn't in movies, people go, oh, look, there's another junkie. There's another meth mouth. There's another rotten-toothed, know-it-all piece of crap that wants a war with hard-working people. Because all the degenerate Hollywood folks hate Christians. That's why they hate Russia. That's why they hate America. They're a bunch of devil-worshipping crap. And America is scraping it off the bottom of our shoes. And pretty soon, Hollywood's going to be totally bankrupt. Everybody should stop seeing their movies, should stop watching what they do, should just only analyze their propaganda so folks know it's poison. And just point out, that's poison, that's death, that's destruction. Now, here is Michael Hastings' wife. Remember his car, it blew up going on the road? Joe Biggs was at the funeral. She said, I'm going to get these bastards. They killed him. But then when she went on Piers Morgan, she said, oh, nothing happened. It was totally normal. And now she's saying the president's like a suicide bomber, and he doesn't ever keep his word. No, that's why they're mad, is because he's really keeping his word on almost every agenda. And then Congress is blocking him on tax cuts and things like that. But the regulations are the equivalent of tax cuts. Here it is.
The broadcast, I said bluff. I said the president was bluffing. I may have been perhaps too fair. It would seem as if the president may have been lying all along about the existence of these tapes.
No, he's just wasting. He wasted the country's collective time speculating over whether these tapes existed or not. It's a sad day when you cannot depend on the president's word. And my advice would just be to Republicans who do cozy up to him. It's just like hugging a suicide bomber. He blows you up in the process with him.
It's like hugging us. That's a little strong, Elise.
Yeah, I mean, this is not, I mean, look at if you go out on a limb, if you're a Republican who went out on a limb and defended Donald Trump over saying, well, he's got tapes that are going to back up his point of view.
Your car blows up.
Blown up.
Keep going, yeah. No, exactly. She knows a lot about bombs because her husband got blown up, and I'm sad that happened. But if you hug Trump, he blows you up. He lies to you. No, he said, you better be careful there aren't tapes, because he knew what he really said to Comey, and he bluffed Comey into telling the truth, that he didn't try to obstruct justice. So what did the MSM do? They just said, it's not real. Comey never said that he didn't obstruct. Comey never said that. Really, I have the clips. Maybe we should play them again. That's how stupid they think we are. Now, continuing here, I want to deal with some other issues that are very, very important. We're going to do that at about 40 after when Max Keiser leaves us. DWS says Jay Johnson is wrong in every respect. That's Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And that no one requested access to DNC servers. Remember all that? But Jay Johnson, who was the head of Homeland Security, he testified that they refused to let them look at the servers. But she says he's lying. So that's rats leaving the sinking ship. That's coming up. Then I've got a George Carlin piece I'm going to play. And I've also got a Joe Rogan piece I want to play because it's very, very important. And I want to give Joe and the professor the other piece of the puzzle. Because they're asking a question, but I'd like to give them the answer. So that's coming up. Then Mike Cernovich is hosting the 4th hour. Michael Malice, an expert on North Korea, and that communist heaven, will be joining us as well coming up in the next hour. Now, Max Keiser is in Mexico City. He does not need any introduction to our audience. He's been a busy man the last year. Haven't had him on much. Max Keiser is a filmmaker, broadcaster, and former major broker and options trader. He's also co-founder of Bitcoin Capital and presenter of the Keiser Report on RT. MaxKeiser.com is his website, so he's always got a lot to talk about. I want to get into the economy. I want to get into the state of the world, the Civil War the media is trying to start. Max Keiser, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Alex. Yeah, sorry I don't have the video set up. But
it's okay. I know you're having some internet problems. That's why you're on a bit late. It's okay.
Yeah, Stacey has the phone that we were going to do the video on, and I don't know where she went.
It's okay. We'll have you back on tomorrow or something, whenever you want with Skype. Because I loved you in Rome. I loved you in England. I loved you in Moscow. I loved you in all over the place you've come on the show. It's always amazing tours you give us. So I was looking forward to you walking around in Mexico City, but that's okay. What do you want to hit first, Mr. Keiser?
Well, Alex, I think there's a very big story here in Mexico City. You know, it's the country right on America's border, right on America's doorstep, and you compare it to the rhetoric that comes out of the mainstream media in America that's always about bashing Russia and Putin bashing, and they say things like he kills journalists. Well, journalists are getting killed all over the world, and probably Mexico is a place where you've got 90 to 100 journalists have been murdered over the past 10 years. It's like the journalist murder capital of the world, and yet the mainstream media never talks about it. Here in Mexico City, there's a real revolutionary spirit to try to push back against an authoritarian government that is got 30 million Mexicans on the verge of starvation. So what we're doing here, Alex, is I'm spreading the word of Bitcoin and Max Coin. You know, Max Coin is the coin that was created kind of in my honor. It's hitting new all-time highs on record volume. People can mine the coin. And I'm talking to people all over the world that can mine cryptocurrencies on their desktop to give themselves economic freedom. Remember, Alex, a couple of years ago, we did crash JP Morgan buy silver. The silver price got up to 50, And then the banking cartel came in and smashed the price back down to $16, $17. But with crypto, there is no banking cartel to smash the price. It's just individuals around the world fighting back against the banking terrorism. And with Bitcoin...
Well, I was about to say, from what I've seen in Brazil and Mexico and other areas, I wouldn't call it right-wing. It's like super libertarian, absolutely sick of communism, socialism, and fascism. But our media ignores that, and the Latin media is pretty establishment liberal like ours here. But, I mean, is that not the case? What have you found in Latin America? Because I know you've traveled extensively.
Well, American media doesn't want to accept the truth. You know, when we were in North Carolina before the election, the presidential election, we reported that we don't see any Hillary signs. Always hear Trump signs. We see great support for Trump, and we were accused of being pro-Russian because we were reporting the truth. And sure enough, Hillary lost North Carolina. Hillary lost Wisconsin. Just Americans are really being dumbed down by this mainstream media.
And again, in fairness, you're on RT, which is international, but you've said they've never controlled what you say, what you do. I mean, but you've been on Al Jazeera, you've been on BBC, you've been on a bunch of other networks too. So, I mean, are you a British agent? Are you an Islamic agent?
The only network that censored me aggressively was the BBC. The BBC is the worst of all international outlets. They control every single thing you say. They edit your show, and they cut things they don't like. The BBC is the worst.
All right, Max Keiser, MaxKeiser.com. He's with us till 40 after. He's giving us vital intel. All right, Max Keiser, enough of my interruptions. Give us the big intel data dump on the state of the world, not just what's happening in Latin America, where you think the economy is, and what you think so far, just as a political atheist, how Trump's doing.
Well, Trump is fulfilling campaign promises to something, one degree or another. I think he's got to get through this cycle of, for example, the Veterans Administration. He just announced that he's going to protect whistleblowers. That's very good. He's talking about building a wall. Now he's talking about building a solar wall. So he's keeping that alive. He's vilifying, I think, Mexico, which doesn't make a lot of sense for the points that I just pointed out. He is still reaching out to Russia because Russia, America, that is by far the best political combination we could have in fighting terrorism. So anyone who's serious about fighting terrorism, and of course in America there's a lot of people who don't want to fight terrorism because half the taxes go to the military industrial complex. Defense contractors are making billions of dollars off that, and the banks who feed them make billions of dollars off that. You got, to switch gears a little bit, you've got Saudi Arabia wants to take the Aramco, the American Arabian oil company, public at a $2 trillion valuation. It'll be the biggest company in the world. Why are they doing that? Because the price of oil is going down. Saudis want to sell oil now. They're hugely in debt. They need the cash to pay down their debt. Saudi Arabia is a country in social and economic collapse. They've sided now with their other extremist Wahhabist partners in the region to go against countries like, of course, Iran. Iran is always being picked on. That doesn't make any sense because Iran is not the belligerent force that the Saudis say that it is or America says that it is. It's all about the pipelines, Alex. If you draw a map of the pipelines and see who controls the pipelines, who's building pipelines, you see America's trying to stop Russia from shipping gas from Russia to Europe. You see that the Saudis have combined with America to stop Russia from shipping gas to Germany. And here's the wild card. This is my prediction for the next 18 months is that throughout this entire global conflict and lead up to World War III, the silent country, the country that we really don't know whose intentions, what their intentions are, is Germany. Germany gets 30% of their gas, of their energy from Russia. They are starting to understand that Trump is not, according to them, not a reliable partner, and they want to spread their wings a little bit, and they want to side with Russia, China, Iran, because that's the emerging bloc of power in the world. The U.S. and the U.K., particularly, the U.K. is in free fall. Brexit is a disaster. Theresa May is horrendous. Jeremy Corbyn is going to be prime minister in the next 6 to 9 months, which is great. He's a great guy, but Britain's going back to 1970s. Tax rates are going back to 80 to 90% for the top bracket, which is great, but it means that their GDP is going to fall by $1 trillion or more, and they're going back to 1970s. The So therefore, back to my original point, I think Germany is the key country going forward. My message going around the world, Alex, is to people need their individual economic sovereignty. Bitcoin has made millions of millionaires, maybe not millions of millionaires, but it's made tens of thousands of millionaires. The crypto coin market is exploding.
I was about to say, you started pushing Bitcoin day one, and I thought it was all nebulous. I'm all for new independent currencies, but you have been proven 100% spot on Bitcoin, and I just wish I would have gotten into it at the beginning. So we salute your accuracy, Keiser.
Well, it's up 100,000%. At least I recommended it on your show at $3. It's recently been at $3,000. Maxcoin, you know, which was traded on my show just to show people what it's all about. It's hitting new all-time highs, 24, 25 cents, the all-time record volume. You know, it's at number 160 on the market capitalization.
Sure. We've been hearing it's going to burst forever, though. It doesn't burst.
The reason it doesn't burst is because banks are still in a state of extreme duress. The global banking system is kept alive with the cheap money from the central banks.
Sure, so Bitcoin's, I mean, nothing's perfect, but compared to the banking system, it's a lot better. And so people are running into other avenues. What, hedging bets?
Right. They have three choices: Bitcoin, gold, and silver. The problem with gold and silver, and the reason why it's not for Bitcoin...
They're allowed to suppress it. Well, but let me get your expert view on that. Final segment with Max Keiser, who I want to invite back. I just invited him during the break to come to Austin and spend 3 or 4 days with us co-hosting, and he's accepted to come here in about 2 weeks. So we're looking forward to that. Stay there, Max Keiser. Max Keiser is our guest from Mexico City. I'm Alex Jones, your host. I want to get more into the Democrats calling for civil war and what's happening in the economy and so much more. But I also found a George Carlin clip this morning that I never heard before, where he lays out political correctness. So I thought we would air some of that coming up. And then I also have a clip I want to get to of Joe Rogan. In fact, we'll just play that first. And we'll get to the other clip, I guess, later. And that deals with what's happening at Evergreen College and all these other colleges that are being shut down, where they're saying we're going to have no whites on campus now, or no whites are allowed at the park, at the campus. And they're saying we're going to teach you about discrimination, even though these are white people, a lot of them that are from Eastern Europe, and were never even involved in their ancestral line oppressing black people. Less than 2% of the South had slaves. Those are people that died hundreds of years ago. What on earth is all of this about? What on earth is going on? It's about collectivized guilt, bullying people, and destroying language. Very powerful information that we're going to be getting to. Don't forget, we've got free shipping running through 4th of July. I've extended it, but we've added a bunch of new specials because we do this every year around 4th of July. Some of the biggest specials: Brain Force Plus, amazing nootropic for the brain, 30% off. Just try a bottle of it. Now 20% more in each bottle. Super Male Vitality, 30% off. Again, that's a bestseller, but we're discounting it. If you haven't tried it, you really need to. Survival Shield X2, the good halogen, game-changing, life-changing for me. Z-Shield, our latest product with Shilajit and concentrated other compounds like zeolites to pull heavy metals and toxins out of the body. InfoWars, high-quality storable foods, powered by My Patriot Supply, 30 to 40% off. Nobody's got My Patriot this low. Emmerich Essentials, entire line of outdoor products and toiletries are discounted, 40% off on the sunscreen and the bug spray when you get them together. Living Defense is about to sell out, but it's 20% off. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com. In fact, a couple of these items, like Super Male, X2, and others, are about to sell out. Also, Z-Shield, we did a limited run of that. It's the first run. That's going to sell out in the next week at the current sales rate. So we're doing these specials while supplies last. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. But do yourself a favor. Look into Living Defense. Look into Z-Shield. Look into X2. Look into Super Male or Super Female Vitality. Super Male does so good for men. I don't know why it's not a big seller with women. I mean, particularly women, even bigger effect in the libido area. I'm just telling you. It's just a fact. I mean, you really notice the Super Male, men do the next day or 2 days after they take it in the morning. I'm going to leave it at that. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. Now, Max Keiser, You got caught off there by the break. You were getting into gold and silver, and while they're able to manipulate that down. Then I want to ask you about the climate of violence against nationalism, the climate of violence against Russia. You've been called a Russian agent. I've had Congress and Hillary say that I actually tell the Russians what to do, and then they give me the hacked info with no proof. But, I mean, it's still creepy when they're having Defense Department hearings in the House saying I am a Russian agent. I don't get called to testify. The FBI doesn't show up. I want to testify. I'm so sick of this crap. What's really going on here, Max Keiser?
Well, Alex, I guess exclusive news for you. That'll be the first time anyone's ever heard about this. And it's a follow-up to what you just described as the Democrats, the Civil War, the backlash after the election from mainstream media against anyone who is supporting the president, and the complete kind of blackout from hearing the voices of ordinary Americans out there who were, instrumental in this election, and their voices are not heard. So this is the news. I am working right now with my friend Stephen Baldwin, who I've known for 30 years. We're in pre-stage development, pre-development on a new RT show that will go into the heartland. And Stephen and I are going to go. This will be in addition to my Keiser Report show. This is a new show in addition to my Keiser Report show on RT. We're going to travel into America, and we're going to talk to folks and let them speak. Let them tell the world what they're thinking, because nobody in mainstream media in America is allowing that conversation to take place. So it's a very exciting new media show, a new media project, and we're in pre-production. RT's on board, Stephen's on board. As a matter of fact, I just talked to Brock Pierce, who's one of the biggest names in crypto, about doing some sponsorship with us as well. We've got people like Dash and Monero, Litecoin.
Well, that's very exciting. Do me a favor. I know you're in Mexico City, but a lot of times they have great cell phone and great landline. If you're at a hotel and has a number, we could call you there. But regardless, I want to get you on soon. You've agreed to come in studio, but we're having some phone problems. Can you back off that phone a little bit, Max?
Oh, yeah. How's that, better?
Yeah, that's a lot better. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So just to repeat, Alex.
No, I mean, I heard most of it. Let me ask you this, because you've been a good trends forecaster. Where would you say the state of the world is? Because I would say the Democrats, the deep state, the Republican establishment, who are just as bad or worse, they're all lined up against Trump because he's trying to be president. He's trying to do some basic stuff to turn the economy back on. Doesn't mean he's perfect, but they're coming after him. I think we're already basically in a civil war. Max Keiser.
Yeah, we're in a civil war. I mean, the NSA and the CIA are fighting each other, and the FBI. There's the deep state, as it's called, that Trump doesn't care about it so much. He disregards it. He feels it's a pox on the American system, which is true. He's allowing the NSA and the CIA to go to war with each other. All of this fake investigation into Trump-Russia hacking is basically, if you blow away the smoke, it's these two intelligence agencies, the NSA and CIA, doing battle each other for supremacy within the deep state. Now, there's a photo that's circulating with Michael Flynn talking to Putin at a big dinner to commemorate the 10-year anniversary of RT a couple of years ago. Max and Stacey were at that dinner. If you look at that photo, in the back of the photo, you can see Max and Stacey. I was at that event. I can tell you, as a witness to that event, that Michael Flynn and Putin did not communicate. Putin came in, you see that his plate on the table is empty. He comes in late, he watches the video, he makes a speech, and he leaves. There was no interaction. As he said, it's to Megyn Kelly. Talking to Megyn Kelly for two days during her interview, it made him a lot closer to Megyn Kelly than he's ever been to Michael Flynn. But the Democrats are imploding on this fake Trump-Russia connection, and they're going to just die with it because there's absolutely nothing there. And Trump knows that let these two agencies, the NSA and CIA, kill each other, because it'll be great for America. Get rid of the deep state. It's part of his big plan. I think he's got a plan. People say he's a rogue. I think that's false. I think he knows pretty well what he's doing, and I see success. You know, he inherited a country that was in pretty bad shape. Now, as far as the global economy goes, you still have global central banks bailing out other banks by printing lots of ridiculously fiat, nonsensical money. And this is leading to wealth and income gaps and leading to not only civil war in America, but war. And look at Britain, all these terrorist activities and the recent fire of the Grenfell Tower. That's all the result of class war, driven by money printing by the Bank of England to reward the rich every time they make a mistake and to penalize the poor. So what's happening
exactly, and those very same entrenched ultra-rich don't want to have the general public have a nouveau riche or have a middle class. They admit it, and I've been meeting with a lot of wealthy folks, the same kind of folks you meet with, and they want a renaissance. They don't like what's happening. There's a major fissure in globalism because globalism was sold as a way to really make everybody successful and redistribute Western wealth to help the third world. Instead, it exploits the third world. Now it's reversing colonialism and exploiting the first world for offshore global elites that say they want to go to a city-state model of like a gulag casino that you coined the term of total control, a true breakaway civilization, Elysium level. And so a lot of the elites, as you've said and others have said, they don't want this, but they have been bullied into this by the worst actors, the worst operatives in this. And so the reason globalism is falling apart is there's a crisis of confidence in it. And even as Peter Thiel and others have said, the tide is going out on it. So in the last minute we've got, you agree with Peter Thiel that the tide on modern crony capitalist globalism is going out, and the elites better understand they're not going to get away with more crap.
Yeah, it's very simple, Alex. It goes back to what is the definition of money. Currently, the definition of money in America and around the world is that if you have a lot of it, if you make a mistake, you can print more and buy your way out of your mistake. If you don't have much of it and you make a mistake, you go to prison. That's the system. Because those who are committing the biggest crimes have access to the central bank. They can print an infinite amount of money.
And they have an arrogance against everybody else or anybody else that, you know, might want to have a swimming pool or go on vacation who makes money the old-fashioned way. It is total Marie Antoinette level garbage. Max Keiser at maxkeiser.com. Promise, and I know you're not asking for it, but I'll get the plane ticket, the hotel. You and your lovely lady, please come up here and brainstorm with me because I'm about to launch a bunch of exciting stuff that's secret, quite frankly. I've let you in on it and stuff, but you're the guy to give me a final look at some things before I pull the trigger, so please come.
Well, less sexier than Megyn Kelly. I've got better legs.
I actually find you more attractive than Megyn Kelly, Max. I'm going to be honest. You have a great brain.
Yeah, we've got a bromance, Alex. We've got a
sexy
bromance.
brain. You have a sexy brain.
Yeah, baby. Let's get down with it.
All right, Max Keiser. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
I know.
Yeah, he is a great guy. Obviously, I'm not attracted to him. That's a joke for the media runs with that. But I am attracted to his brain and his lady's brain because he's bounce off the wall smart in person. It's not an act. Like you think I bounce off the walls? Not when the cameras are off. And it's not a fake thing when I get up here and start talking fast and bounce off the walls. I prepare for hours at home, and then I prepare for hours at night, and then I've got all these clips and all this stuff to get to, and I just get frustrated that I'm not covering it all. I mean, there's so many death threats against the president, and the organized crime behavior is so over the top that it just, my brain overheats. It's like too much information. Robbie the robot cannot compute too much data. Threats approaching from all angles. Traitors everywhere. I mean, it's like, I mean, I don't know what to do at some point. But I'm trying my best here. And the crew puts up with me, so that's what matters. But we're going to get to all of it. Now, this next piece of news is very, very important. Joe Rogan had the Evergreen University from Washington guest on, the professor, Brett Weinstein, who's a liberal, who's an SJW, who I would call ultra-leftist. But he's the old left that at least agrees in free speech and an open discourse of ideas. Now, the college has been closed for weeks. This has been going on for over a month. The minority students said, we want the campus closed to white people because they're the problem. We need to genocide white people. They're the devil. There's new articles out saying abort your white babies in mainstream feminist publications. Whites are inherently the source of all evil. This is Hitler's ideology, but inverted or flipped. And so Joe Rogan, who is, I'd call a libertarian. I've known Joe, like, hard to believe I'm this old now, 18, 19 years. And Joe is more of a mainline liberal, classic liberal from Boston. When I first met him, he just finished doing the show News Radio. We got to be pretty good friends. And he's a smart guy. He's taught me a lot, but I want to explain something to Joe and to the professor. I watched the over hour-long interview on his podcast. It's excellent. But they keep wondering why the left is eating itself, why it's turning on itself, why it's blowing up, why it's so cancerous, why it's so hateful, why it's so racist, why it's so cult-like. Because the psychological warfare systems on record set this up as standardized academia. It's a war on culture. It's a war on ideas. It's a war on classical liberalism that the robber barons don't know what to do with. And so they've been funding this for 100 years, getting control of the liberal movements that actually threaten the establishment. You know, Thomas Jefferson liberalism. Conservatism, you could say, would be George Washington, very traditionalist, but Americana. And then you've got super extreme, wild freedom with Jefferson, who was the head of the Illuminati for a while, helped launch the French Revolution, barely got out of France. They wanted to kill him. He said, whoa, Washington's right. This is really bad. So that's a lot, big, complex, long history there. And you're going, the Illuminati? Jefferson was good? He's the real Illuminati, folks, not the fake Illuminati. It's all in Washington's writings if you want to read it. Somebody's got to make a movie or write a book about this, because this is all in the history books, but no one even knows it. It just means illuminated. It's like if, you know, the rock band Rush is talking about illumination, wide-eyed fascination with the universe, not wanting to be a jerk, not wanting to be evil, wanting to share knowledge, be illuminated. The globalists are the opposite. In the kingdom of the one-eyed man, in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Well, this is the kingdom of the one-eyed man. They want the only knowledge, the only light. You don't get it. That's the false Illuminati. They call themselves the Illuminati. It was just the Enlightenment. It just means the Enlightenment, and it came out of Christianity. It came out of the Reformation. It came out of a lot of things. It came out of the Black Plague that killed about 40% of the population, mainly in the cities, wiped out the elites, wiped out the feudalism that had top-down control. So there's a lot of things that gave us the Renaissance and the Gutenberg press and everything of 500 years ago. And there's been a fight between the forces of control and the forces of enlightenment since then. And the forces of control launched their own counter-enlightenment that was the extreme Illuminati, based on sex operations, devil worship, really what they saw as cutting-edge stuff they could get the royalty and the general elites into, because it wasn't kosher to go have sex orgies and do stuff like that. So it was kind of like, oh, really? You're going to have an enlightenment over in America? And you're going to have a Christian enlightenment? We're going to have one with hot chicks and, you know, devil parties. And so that's all it was a financed attempt to take down our real operation. Now, continuing, I say our real operation because my family on both sides, all over the place, right back to the start of it. I'm very, very, very proud of that. Now, continuing here, ladies and gentlemen, they're wondering why all this is happening. They're wondering why it's all going on. Well, the professor knows. He knows this is standard doctrine and standard dogma being given to the colleges, being pushed in the publications, being prepared for the public. So when we come back, I'm going to play part of this little 7-minute clip that is up on Infowars.com. Joe Rogan rant, left turning on itself. You want to see the full thing on YouTube, you know, the full clip, and then there's a larger multi-hour interview. I would like to get the professor on here, but they're acting like that this university, Evergreen College, is some anomaly. They're shutting down colleges all over the country. Enrollment at some of these things is 30, 40% down because the anti-white racism is so bad, whites are literally being run off by groups of white professors saying, get me some muscle over here. Get these whites out of here. They're not allowed to be here. And people are like laughing, going, I'm Asian, but that's wrong. I mean, it is just, it's beyond KKK. And it is mental illness in the people themselves that are under the control. But above it, there's a total plan. This is systematic authoritarianism. And George Carlin, before he died, laid it all out as well. All right, here are some excerpts in this segment and the next. Then an author's joining us who wrote the unauthorized biography of Kim Jong-un, the dear leader of another heavenly communist compound re-education country like North Korea. And that's what our colleges are turning into, is little Maoist youth movement centers. In fact, if you go to most of the colleges like UT here in Austin, they model themselves off Mao and Mao's youth brigades, and they call themselves the Red Guard of Mao. They don't even like Mao in China. The communists don't like him there. They locked Mao's wife up until she died. But they don't even care that the communists don't like Mao. The Red Guards here and all over the country, this is their model, because it starts on the universities. Then they're the Red Terror. They're the most vicious. They lead the assault. It starts there. They're the dumbest. They're the most violent. They're the stupidest. Just like with what happened in the Cultural Revolution and the Great Leap Forward that visited 80+ million dead. So let's go ahead and start playing some clips here of them wondering why this happened, why the universities are like this, because it's by design, it's all engineered, and that is admitted. Here it is. Joe Rogan asked, why is the left turning on itself at Evergreen College? And this is Bert Weinstein. Here it is.
It is very cult-like. And again, you asked me what would have to happen for us to right the ship. The second one is that my faculty colleagues have to wake up to the fact that their belief structure has become bizarre and unrecognizable from any normal position.
And very dangerous from the perspective of an educator. If this is what an educated person who has gone through the entire system and now has a job in educating young people, if this is how you view the world, and this is how you view facts, and this is how you distort them and then disseminate them to the rest of these like-minded folks in this very bizarre echo chamber that's being rejected, like almost universally outside of the college. I mean, it's not just Fox News it's rejecting, it's the Washington Post, it's the New York Times. Like, people are freaking out about your situation and recognize very clearly and very rightly that you are absolutely not a racist.
Right.
And this is, this is kind of a lot of what I've said to Jordan Peterson when I had him on. Like, they with the wrong person. Mm-hmm. Again, they with the wrong person. And this is one of the most horrific things about what I find so troubling about what I think of as, I used to think of myself as a progressive, but what I have a problem with all of this is that the left is attacking itself now. It's like there's no one who's progressive enough. No one. Like, every single thing you do is a microaggression. Every single thing you do is based on white privilege, and therefore you're racist. And unless you somehow or another give up all your money and give up all your jobs, and there are people who are asking to do that too, by the way. There's people who are asking people to give their money and put them in black banks, give them to black people. I mean, we're going crazy.
This is literally, it's not an individual psychosis, but it's a collective psychosis that we're watching. And I believe that in literal terms. We are watching a kind of group insanity.
Is this a problem with language? In some ways, is this a problem with influence and charisma and people's ability to...
Joe, it's a power trip. Instead of people thinking about getting a good job, being charming, working, enjoying their work, being successful, it's about being a victim. And so you've always got to expand that, because that expands your value. And so you've got to make everyone else bad around you to elevate yourself. They're being given a psychological warfare system to destroy them, because they're being given worthless educations in a deindustrialized economy. They're being psychologically sabotaged to then go out and destroy the rest of culture. This is a psych warfare weapon. It's declassified. Back in 70 seconds. It is psychological warfare. It is mass mental illness by design.